guys, how are you? It feels like it's been such a long time. I don't know why, but it feels so strange. It feels like it's been forever since I've recorded. Um, I'm back from Cali, and oh, there's so much that happened that I want to talk about. I'm not going to talk about everything, but there's one thing that I'd like to touch on today. Um, so just a little, some details before I get to my point. Um, I've now been, I've probably said this already, but I've now been in New York for about um, a little over 24 years. And in high school, once I got to high school, I already knew, like, I felt I was just completely done with New York. Um, I'm not a snow girl. I'm not a cold weather girl. Like, I was born in Panama. I'm a tropical baby. Okay. So um last week it was just seeing salt on the floor like drove me nuts. There wasn't no snow yet. It was literally only salt on the floor and I literally lost my mind. I could not take it. So um I it just so happened that I had my ticket and it was canceled and I had to change the date. And so I left that Friday. I went to San Francisco where my older brother stays. And, you know, since I by default saw my other brother, I figured, well, I didn't necessarily figure to tell you the truth. It was just a feeling that I should go. Like that's the feeling that's what I was feeling that I should go to San Francisco. So I did. Um, and by no means was it supposed to be a situation where I was going to take up his time or anything. I was literally just running from the cold. And then at that moment from the snowstorm. Um, so I go over there, um, real lightweight, just to hang out and just stay there, and enjoy the sun. And things didn't necessarily turn out the way I expected. Um, things were kind of rocky from the start, which I don't know if that's necessarily uncommon. Um, but I was definitely like putting up blinders and ignoring everything because I was only there for about 4 days. So everything kind of started boiling, boiling over when Sunday came. And those of you who don't know, I have a Bible study. It's called the Truth Seekers. Well, it's called Truth Seekers Bible Study Group. And we meet every Sunday from 12:30 to 2 o'clock on Zoom. And just because I was away, things weren't going to change. Like my schedule wasn't going to change. I went equipped with everything that I would need to do the Bible study. And so prior to the Bible study, prior to Sunday specifically, there was some things that um, I spoke to my brother about, specifically one thing. I wanted to ask him in scripture because he's also a believer and he's baptized. And, um, we were just discussing about the part in scripture where Moses was already told that he was gonna go free the Hebrews, and then all of a sudden this strange passage where it says, and the Lord was about to kill Moses, right? And Zipporah circumcised her son and everything. So we were talking about that. And I was giving him my perspective, and he gave me his, which he made great points. And so Sunday comes, and we start talking about all the questions that we had, maybe comments or whatever. And I mentioned his perspective on the passage as well as my perspective. And to cut this story real short, honey, because I could go into such detail, but I don't think the details really matter in my point. My brother is someone who just cannot see the man in the mirror. And if he does, by chance, recognize the man in the mirror, he certainly is ignoring the things that may need to change. So he overhears me naturally, right? He overhears me speaking to the group about how I felt about it, even though I also stated his point. And after my group was done, he kind of stepped to me with some concerns. And I gave him the floor, and it just turned so ugly. Like, it went from, I told you what that passage meant. Why did you say what you said? You should have just said what I told you, plus all the other things behind that, to issues of why I left the church. And he immediately went on to bully me. And I know he likes to watch videos on the low. So if he's watching this, leave a comment. So I don't hide anything from him. In fact, I talk to him the most out of my two brothers. And so when things escalated the way they did, and he went on to bully me in such a childish way, I immediately started to revert to that girl who needs to do whatever it takes to be heard. But you see, I have matured so much beyond that point that I wasn't going to allow myself to continue any longer in that energy. And so I stayed there for, let's say, 10 minutes. I stayed in that energy for 10 minutes. And then I just removed myself from the situation, and I went into shutdown. And I was so angry. I was so angry because his very attitude, if I could describe it, for you guys to get a sense of the energy that I'm talking about, is that of a Pharisee. Okay? Is that of a Pharisee. So I shut down. I was very angry. But because the story is so complicated, and I'm trying to get I'm trying to get to the juice of it all, right? In 2020, when my mom passed away, his behavior wasn't, it didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel right at all. However, I respect people's perspective as much as I can. And even when I can't, I stay silent. So I just didn't like his energy during that time. And I knew coming back home, I knew that I'm going to have to make a hard decision. But just like when I left the church, instead of making that decision, um, when it comes to people that you're close with, you make excuses, and sometimes you kind of just sweep it under the rug, and you kind of just give it time so that everything could blow over. And that's what I did. And so when this happened last week, when this whole thing boiled over last week, um, it just reminded me of when I was faced with the fact that I need to leave this church because that's not the energy that I need to be around. Um, for just because of everything that I'm working towards, because of everything that I want to represent, um, I just don't want to be around certain people who do not who don't carry themselves in a way that is appropriate per Bible standards or per believer standards. I'm going to just go with Bible, okay? Because if we say believer, then that's up for a lot of translation. And you may say that the Bible is up for a lot of translation too. And I could see that point. I understand that point, but that's not true. That's not true. There's one way that this was supposed to be understood. And if we just ask the Lord to show us that way, he will show us that way. And that's that for that. So I took some time to calm down before I made any rash decisions. I wanted to make sure that I was understanding everything that was happening before I even got on the plane, right? Because I believe I stated last week that the feeling of going, I mean, I stated it even earlier, the feeling to go out west or northwest um, was one that just came to me just on my day to day going back and forth from work and home. And so just even taking it from that perspective of this is not something that I just thought up. This is something that came to me that I needed to do. And it just so happens that when I did look up for flights, the flights were really, really cheap. So just considering everything and how everything was just playing out, I slept on it. And the following day, I decided, when I woke up, I said, according to the energy that's brought to me on this new day, is how I'll make my decision moving forward. And the energy wasn't good. The energy was not good whatsoever. It was unacceptable coming from a person who loves to talk about themselves in such a high way, or esteem themselves or see themselves as this amazing person. I just feel like someone who is almost 12 years older than you should behave better. Ego is a no. Ego is a no for me. So Anyways, um, I gave it until a certain time in the day, and then I decided to take my things and go. And at that point, I made my decision. Now, to go a little bit deep in detail of that decision, when I put together the Bible study group, it was only supposed to be the Bible study group, but it really just turned out to be such a great thing that after it was done, I did continue on with who wanted to continue on into a accountability group. And the accountability group, I'm not sure, I can't remember. Actually, no, it hasn't hit a year yet. It will be a year. It will be a year in like April, so spring, summer. And in this group recently, we all created a boundary list for ourselves. Everybody created their own personal boundary list. And so I took that time to look through my boundary list, right? Because I didn't want whatever decision I was going to make, I wanted it to be within my boundary list rather than a decision that's being made based on the lifespan of our relationship. And actually, let me read what um, this whole situation basically fell under for me. Um, and I suggest that everybody creates a boundary list. It just helps when you're in that red zone, when you're in that state of mind that you can't do it. And if you're somebody who is kind of spontaneous, or you're always doing something without thinking, I think creating a boundary list, excuse me, is beneficial. So I decided to go through my boundary list and I read the entire thing. And the situation between him and I basically fell under one, having a huge ego, which I forgot that I needed to, not the time, right? But I just have to do it. I'll probably just edit this out, maybe. Oh goodness, now I lost it. Okay, I was supposed to do an edit on that. Okay, so huge egos, I said it will equal my exit. And I did. I exited. I left Monday at 2 o'clock. He actually lives east of San Fran. And so I left around 2 o'clock to go to the city and find some things to do. My flight wasn't until Tuesday at 7 o'clock. And because I wasn't going to sit in the city with the rest of the homeless people, and it was cold, right? Um, I went to the airport at around, I started heading there at around 9 o'clock and got there at like minutes to 10, if not 10 o'clock. And I was literally at the airport from like after 10 o'clock to 7 o'clock when we departed. Like that's how serious it was. That's how serious it was. The second thing on my boundary list is deliberately ignoring my boundaries is a no-go. I'm done. Only extensive time, acknowledgement, and an apology will resume the relationship. So for him, um, I cannot continue giving it time and grace. And I know that's from a believer that's like, oh, but that's what you're supposed to be doing. And I get that. And that's true. However, when you know that you have somebody who is so toxic, and you constantly have to take breaks from them, when somebody is not respecting you, when somebody is seeing you less than and treating you just like how they see you, and they're just not good for you, and you just see the nasty aura and just the way they are. And yes, you have good times, like, you know, people always think that relationships can only be ended when it's nothing but bad times. Yes, you should end that too. But there's people who is what is that thing? What is that negative thing that this person has or is exuding towards you and otherwise everyone else? Um, what is that thing? Does it affect you so much? If it does, you gotta go. You gotta remove yourself because they are not gonna remove themselves. And you know what? I got there Friday evening, left Monday afternoon, and you know what I saw? Well, what I heard, not what I saw. I heard someone who literally complained about everything. Now, at least when I was in my dark time, I I just was not quite that bad. And it's not a comparison thing. I just really want somebody out there to understand if this could help one person to get out of a situation that's making them miserable. Now, this is not making me miserable, right? Because this is not someone that I'm spending 24 hours with or whatever, but it's something that every time you're in that person's presence, it's always just the complaints, the complaints, the complaints, the complaints. And if, this is just me, this is just me, if these people would complain and somehow say, well, this person that, but also I see what I did. I see where I went wrong. I see, you know what I mean? He never does that. He's never in the wrong of anything. And I'm over it. I'm over it. I don't owe nobody an explanation, and neither do you. Okay? Because I knew that I was supposed to make a decision back in 2020, early 2021, but I ran from that decision. This is what happens. Something that was supposed to be super easy breezy then turns into this ridiculous argument of somebody forcing you to tell them why you did something, forcing you to tell them why you did something that did not affect them, something that has nothing to do with them, something that literally doesn't touch them. Like literally, you are invisible. If you were never born, it wouldn't affect you. It has nothing to do with you. But you're forcing me to tell you because you want to know. You want to know. You want to know. Doesn't that sound like a Pharisee to you? Hmm? Doesn't that sound when the Pharisees question with what authority? And they just kept questioning, who does this person think they are? With what authority? Who are you? You see, and these are the things that people who have not healed from their trauma, they love to say, only God can judge me. You judging me. Well, no. I think the way people use you're judging me is to say, you're looking down on me. How dare you look down on me? I'm not judging you. I'm not looking down on you because I'm a sinner just like you. I'm a sinner just like you, but I need to inspect. I need to have my eyes open to understand what it is that is in front of me, who it is that I'm allowing to be in my life, guiding me, planting seeds. And you know what? It was a hard decision to make, to say, this person who is family, who is the closest person to me, I cannot have them around me anymore. And I knew this was something that I was supposed to do, just like walking away from my church. Hard decision. You know, people think that the decisions that I make, um, they look at me as bold and I don't know, maybe heartless, um, uh, rebellious, maybe, and they think that it's just being done with no care in the world, not understanding that these things are affecting this individual. But that's besides the point. Um, or maybe it's not besides the point. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard to make that decision, but it has to be made. It has to be made. And that's really my message for today. My message for today is that it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt you to walk away from people that you care about. Sometimes it's going to be easy because there's some people who maybe you don't care about that much, and it's always easy to walk away from them. But there's going to be those people who you just have to make the decision that you can no longer be around them. And I'm here to tell you that it's okay. The Lord is always there to bring you peace, to comfort you. And um, the bigger picture of it all is balance. Um, it's um, not putting yourself in a situation where people could possibly be planting bad seeds. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Planting bad seeds, right? Um, and possibly easily influencing you. I know a lot of us feel like if we're strong enough, we won't be influenced by people. And, you know, I just don't know how true that is, if I could be quite honest. Uh, because I used to think that, and I think to a certain degree, um, there's certainly times where we could be strong and not easily influenced by our surroundings. But I think equally, I believe equally that when your guard is down, that that's to say people that you love, people that you care about, people you really like, people that you feel comfortable with. I think those are the people who we tend to naturally um, allow them to rub off on us. And it's not something that we're, um, sometimes, it's not something that we're trying to do. Um, it happens. The Lord put us here for community. We are here for community. And so He has allowed us to be able to fit in, to mold into one, right? Like going to a country and that has an accent and living there for, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, and then all of a sudden you start sounding like them, right? You start picking up on the accent, and now you have this accent. That's survival. That's a natural survival skill. That's something that our brain does naturally. That's something that our bodies do naturally. And so, from that perspective, for me and for everything that I've gone through, everything that I've experienced, that I've seen, I've done a lot of, I've done a lot of studying on myself. I and I just I study myself more than anybody studies me. And so I know that being around somebody like that is going to constantly keep me hitting a roof, right? Right? I'm not when maybe I could develop with my community that I trust and who we're constantly, the roof is just endless for us, right? Um, but then every time you come to this person, your roof is up here. But every time you come around this person, the growth that you made from here to here, now all of a sudden, here you go, making fun of people again because that's all we know to do with this person. There's nothing else that we can do. And so you're back. And so if you know a little bit about the brain, the way we create new habits, you have to constantly, do the new thing to let go of the old thing. But if you're constantly coming to this person's level and you're exercising those bad habits, not good. It's not good. You have to step away. You have to step away, and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt, but you have to do it for you. You have to do it for you, and you have to do it for the seeds, the good seeds that the Father put in you. They will not sprout if you keep going around people who are weeds. Okay? Now, is there hope for these people? Yes, there's hope for these people. But because we don't know who are those who will finally wake up and start working on themselves and become better people and stop being so negative and just, because we don't know who those people are, we have to be watchful and judge the situation, see what it is that's happening, not to say that you're better than, but to protect yourself. Not so that you could throw that in people's face, but so you can protect yourself. And one thing that I told him is, well, two things. First thing, you are the reason. Maybe you, but more so people like you are the reasons why there's so many in the world who just don't. Oh, you go to church? Okay, you stay over there. I'm not. There's so many people hate the church, and I understand. Trust me, I overstand. I overstand. And the second thing that I told him was, this is why you would never get far in your personal life. And what is it that somebody who's not healed, somebody who just has a lot of trauma, who is negative, who's egotistical, who's childish, who doesn't like to be called on, who loves to joke on you but cannot receive it? Oh, you talking about me and my personal life? But what about you? You not married, so what you talking about? Okay, well, listen, I'm happy though. I'm happy. When my mom was on her last days, I was able to enjoy her and be happy around her and exude nothing but love in that moment because I did the hard work before. The hard work being talking to her about the things that she did that hurt me, calling her out when I saw her doing things that were not acceptable, especially from a believer, and just constantly putting that mirror in her face, just constantly putting that mirror in her face so that she could see that, hey, you're human, just like me. And you may not want to talk about your mistakes, but I'm not going to allow you to bring me down and make me seem like I'm the only one in the world that's doing whatever it is that you're complaining about, doing whatever it is that you are disappointed about because you did dot, 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 because you said dot, dot, dot. And that was the negative parts of my relationship with my mother were a good chunk about me constantly, hey, but you, accountability, accountability, accountability. I'm all about it. I wasn't about it before. Trust me, it just felt like, how dare you? You know, who asked you for your opinion? Like that's somebody who's not ready to heal yet, right? Um, and it took me until 30 years old to finally say, man, I'm ready. I'm ready to now um, create a community of people who I trust, who can call me out on my stuff, right? Because I want to grow. I want to grow, okay? My I don't know if I've read this before, but my statement of purpose, actually, should I read that? Um okay, let me read. um there was this book. I don't know the name of the book. That's terrible. So there was a book that we was reading in my accountability group. Let me see if I still have it on my YouTube because that's how I found it. Well, that's how it was said to me. Um, and to the side of me, um, oh shoot, I don't have it. I don't have it. Oh man, if I'm gonna look it up and put the book in the description box. I definitely gonna do that because I feel like this is something that everybody should read or find it on YouTube. That's how it was sent to me, so it was free. It was such a good listen, or it's such a good read. And so one of the questions that was asked in the book is, what means the most to you, right? And I put to be a great human being. That literally means the world to me because growing up, my perspective was that people are the worst. And then when I came to New York, that doubled by about 1,000. And, I already talked to you guys about all my disappointments. Um, but we're not gonna go into that. And so my statement of purpose, I wrote, I would like to be an amazing representative of God. I want to show the world that there is a God that we can believe in, a God that will be there for us, helping us every step of our journey on this earth. And some people, I don't know, might hear me and think, okay, like that's your goal in life to be a great human being? Really? Okay. Everybody's goal is different. And because of the journey that I've gone through in my life, that means the most to me because we live in a world where a good amount of people are not worthy to walk on this earth. My opinion, of course, right? Because the Lord did grant you the he granted you the strength to swim up to that egg and become a human being. That's a big deal because you had a lot of competition. That's a big deal. So it's just my opinion that you're not worthy, but to the Most High, you are. And it's just really sad that the Most High said, you are worthy. And the way you say thank you is by being a terrible person. Those of you who have somebody in your life, family, friend, acquaintance, boyfriend, girlfriend, I don't care who they is, your grandmother, your mother, your father, if it's that bad and it's affecting you or it can affect you, remove yourself or give it some distance, whatever feels right for you, because that's really what it boils down to. It boils down to whatever feels right to your spirit. For me, what felt right is to walk away because it's now going to be almost 33 years around someone who is still complaining about other people, who still cannot see the mistakes that they've made, the parts that they played, the flaws in their steps. And I just don't find that acceptable. In fact, that's literally the reason why I left my church. Because after 10 years, I'm opening my eyes to see that nothing has changed. The same people that go up there and talk every weekend are the same people that I met when I first came in 98. You guys did not change. The only thing that changed is maybe a wrinkle or two. Maybe you gain weight, you lost weight, maybe you eat differently. But who you are, your character, it didn't change. And I find that to be extremely acceptable as a believer because being part of that walk means changing. It means becoming a different person. Look at Saul, right? Look at Saul. A whole murderer in these streets. Are you kidding? Look at Peter. Ride or die, ride or die. He out here cutting off ears in these streets. He calmed down. And just all the other Bible characters. Guys, the Bible is here to show you that there's nothing new under the sun. But the Lord is graceful and loving. And as long as you repent and really ask for Him to mold your heart, He will do so. I told you guys already, He searches the heart, right? When you ask Him something, He's going to search your heart and see if that's true. And if if the Holy Spirit comes and searches you and sees that, oh, this person means it, trust me, that change is going to come. Trust me, other people are going to see that difference. Trust me. You will forever have something to change in your life. But as long as you walk along this narrow path with a humble spirit, a humble heart, the Lord will always be there for you. And as much as we like to talk about David's indiscretion, the reason he was a man after God's heart is because he humbled himself time and time again. Time and time again. So, thank you for, I don't know, being you. Thank you for being you. Even if you're not my cup of tea, I still thank you for being you because you make my decision easy, as far as being around you or not. If I really care about you, it may not be as easy, but it's making the decision to walk away is easy. The emotions I will deal with accordingly, and the Lord sees what's happening. He will be there to comfort me and to remind me that this life is only one. After this is the party in the kingdom. All right. And I'm looking forward to that. So protect yourself, um, and don't allow yourself to be manipulated, stepped over, ignored. God, I don't know, all the things, all the things. Don't allow nobody to, and it's hard. It's hard. Oh man, it's hard, but it's okay. Whatever the Lord does allow to happen, use it to your benefit. He allowed it to happen to make you stronger. As ugly as it may have been, um, He did it to make you stronger. Talk to Him. He's listening, I promise. And He will definitely bring you comfort. Okay, well, that's all I have for you today. I'm super cozy. I'm wearing this shirt that this is the last shirt that my mom gave me before she passed away. And so I just wanted to wear it today. Um, there's a lot that's been going on. And I felt overwhelmed today, really, really overwhelmed. And I'm ready to move and I will move. Um, I'm looking down at the things that I cleared out that I for sure, as much as I would like to keep, um, I don't need to keep them. They don't need to go with me. So I'm taking the baby steps to get rid, to look for apartments and to do all the things that someone needs to do when they're getting ready to move from one state to another, right? So you guys are coming on a big journey, man. Anyways, it's been lovely. Um, protect yourself, man. Protect yourself. Love yourself enough. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. And I will see you guys on the next video will come up on the 26th, so the last Saturday of this month. And I think you're gonna enjoy it. So, okay. See you guys later. Mwah, 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 mwah. Bye.